Okay. Thanks, dude. Yes.
Well, good afternoon, sir.
Hey, Tom, how are you?
I am well. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. You hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Oh, I just
sir.
lost you.
Uh-oh. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check, 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 check.
Oh, now I got you.
Okay, there we go. There we go. All right. You notice what we've got going on down here?
Yes, indeedy.
Look at that. Now I got to get it set up on you. Hold on one sec.
Sure.
I set up a dummy.
Well, then it's got to fit me perfectly here, right?
Now that was not what we were supposed to do. Okay, where is the dummy here that I set up? And I think we want to replace it with number 60. Let's see. Layers. Nope, that's not it. Oh, you know, I outsmarted myself. I hate when I do that. I was going to do this so quickly and simply. Let's see, that's not it. But I had so much fun watching your video last night. And then I had to come back. Oh, here it is, I bet. Let's see. 63. Oh, what about that? Did that do it? No, that just took it away. I was having so much fun watching your video last night, and I got in today. I said, I got to recreate that. And so I worked on it. And the key for me was getting the gradient right.
Yep.
Because it took me probably 6 tries to get the gradient right. Let's see. Here we go. Let's see if we can do this. Yeah. Number 60. Color. Layers. Number 60. There it is. I'm going to edit it. Let's reset it. Oh, there it is. Okay, good. It is there. So how's your day going?
Oh, everything's good. So this is I'm looking forward to just getting to talk. I mean, because every time we talk in person, it's very, very comfortable and a lot of fun. So I just expect the exact same thing here. This could be very enjoyable.
That is my expectation. I mean, I'm just having a conversation and other people are kind of watching, following along. And by the way, we're live in pre-show right now, just so you don't cuss or anything like that. Okay.
So your audio's coming in a little funny right now.
Okay. Let's see. Funny is an inexact term.
Now I lost you.
Now you lost me. Oh my goodness. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Well, I don't know that there's nothing intermittent here. Let me finish up with this. With this gradient, and we'll see if we can't get that figured out too. Oh, that's part of the problem. Tom, you're a dummy. Okay, let's go here. And we'll reset that. Yeah, now we're talking. Cropping. No, I have so much appreciated. Holy cow. You're sharing your knowledge on vMix because it is blown my mind and given me just thoughts that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
I mean, it's funny
Very
because
appreciative.
vMix is one of those things where you can be your own best friend and you can also be your own worst enemy based on how much discipline you have with it.
Yes.
Because it's, I mean, the great thing about it is you can do anything. Ultimately, like you come down to it, you can get vMix to do anything you want it to do. But you could also end up with 150 inputs, and then you're like shuffling through theme and variation on an input because you've created 6 of them with all little changes and stuff. So that's the interesting part of it, though. It's this sort of thing where it's just so incredibly powerful down deep.
Yes. Agreed. And one of the challenges that I have in dealing with so many folks in vMix is, really trying to determine where they are and what they can stand. And, how much can I teach them before I have overflown their buffer?
Oh, no audio again.
Yeah, so you probably can't hear that little lady next door. 1 second, John. Let me see if I can't get this dialed in the way I want it. Dealing with a live subject is a little different than dealing with a video, because I didn't know what size you were going to come in, and so I had to make some guesses, and my guesses were just not right. Let's see if we can get that trimmed out just a little. We're just going to have to call that done.
That looks fine.
All right, so let's see what's going on. Stats for John's call. Frames lost. I have not lost any video frames out. Okay. Yeah, look at there.
And you're back.
John, can I get you to send me 720 instead of 1080?
Sure thing. Let's go to the connection.
Because what I'm getting is I'm not dropping audio, but we're dropping the vMix call.
Okay.
Not really dropping it, but just losing some frames.
So let me see if I switch this to, I'll start at 720 here.
Okay.
Flip
all
this
right.
around.
We'll give that a moment. And what I'm looking at is the vMix call stats, and you were flickering between green and yellow, which tells me that we were having trouble maintaining a good connection. Yeah, there's another yellow flash. Why don't we try the 720 800?
Okay. You're talking the 700. Okay. Give that a go.
Yeah, that's the lowest of the 720s. And still flashing. Wonder if it's on my end.
Well, hey, Matt, I got one of my guys. Could you check our uplink speed? Yep.
Because I know I'm sending you 240. This stream must look terrible.
I can tell it's pretty. Yeah, I was cool with it as long as things were okay going to you. But if we're having,
yeah, we're still flashing yellow. Let's see, what's the packet loss? Packet loss is 0. Frame loss is 0 from me to you. Okay. Well, John, if my audio cuts out, you'll just have to say, I'm sorry, Tom, I didn't hear you. And we'll try again. Do you have access to the chat?
Wave and smile. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Let me see. I don't have it. So yeah, I mean we're still doing 26 up. So
okay, you've got plenty. Yeah, there just must be a little glitch between here and New Jersey.
Yep, just lost you again.
Okay. Yeah, when we go over that New Jersey border, that's when problems happen.
Yeah, it's all the toxic waste around here.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm losing Tom's audio coming to me all the time. Yeah, it's just like cutting out and then it comes back. So it's not like just audio. But Tom says we're going 240. Yep.
So it's just the audio that you're losing, John, not the video.
No, the video I keep.
Okay. So when it flashes yellow on my end is when I assume that you're losing my audio. But there's a yellow flash right there. Boom. Okay.
Okay. Well, I heard you, but that was okay. We'll make sure it's not something over here too. Oh.
Okay. If you want to go to my website, easternshorebroadcasting.com, and on the very front page, if you scroll down, there is the YouTube embed of this show, and right below it is a little link to the chat. easternshorebroadcasting.com, and then scroll down to the bottom of the page and there's a link to the chat, and then when you get to that chat page you can pop out the chat.
Yep.
Now I lost your audio completely because that assistant has disconnected you. He said he talks too much. All right. Rich Ignacio says, I've heard if you hold the internet closer to your chin, you get a better signal. Oh, and Ron Wallace says, make sure you don't have a cell phone close. Ron, I always have a cell phone close. Holy cow. Let me mute this sucker.
Take this out of here then.
Okay. There we go. I hear him.
I'm going to redo your headset.
Okay, so you hear me again?
I hear you again.
Okay.
You sound great.
Hold on.
You have a wonderful voice, by the way. My wife, it's not really against her will, but she does it because she's in the room. But I'll watch your videos and I'll say, "Okay, San, are you paying attention to what John's saying?" And she'll say, "Yes, but I don't understand any of it." I was like, "Okay, that's okay." All right. All right. Automation for vMix can hear us, so we're good there. I don't think the live stream is having the problem. It's just the audio feed from me to John.
It's probably on this end. We just made sure that our audio, my headset and my mic were on different frequencies to make sure we're not stomping on each other somehow here.
Okay.
Between the two devices. So hopefully this is good now.
Okay. I'm looking at the stats in vMix Call, and we're right at 400 milliseconds of latency on audio and video. And I'm getting a fairly consistent not red, but yellow flash or flicker on your password, which generally, green is good, yellow is red means you're gone. But in this case, it's just an occasional yellow.
I will do my best, and I'm sorry if it's on this end. I really apologize.
Nah, probably not. John, it wouldn't be the first time something like this had happened on the Streaming Idiot Show, let me tell you. All right. So were you able to find the chat?
Yes. So I see the chat over here. So I saw, let's see, get up to saw Richard. What did I miss?
There we go.
Okay.
There we go. So shout out to Rich, of course, and Clint. Clint's in Kentucky. Ron Wallace is like 5 miles up the road. Jan is like 5,000 miles up the road. Let's see. Automation for vMix. Is that who is that? I keep forgetting. It's not Giles. And then Rudy's here. Rudy's a big fan of your show, John. And
yes,
then Daniel's
I
here.
owe him a response. He gave me a. So.
Yeah, Rudy's a big vMix fan. You know, Rudy won a vMix Pro license in a giveaway several years ago, and he was not a vMix user before that. So you only have to give him $1,200, really cool. And he comes over to your side. It's Gunnar. That's right. Okay, Gunnar. Good. Glad to have you. So let's see. We've got just a few more minutes. We're in pre-show, by the way. So let me get the pre-show graphic here. There's pre-show. Oh, now John is small again. So that's not going to work. We'll have to go back to the show graphic. So did you guys notice? Look, I mean, check out the reflection. This is what you find out if you watch the Streaming Alchemy Show. Because last Friday's show, John goes through how to set up a reflection as a way to add some pizzazz to your live stream. And it took me 30 minutes maybe to set this up. And obviously I could polish it a little bit more and get it just perfect, but it wouldn't be the Streaming Idiot Show if it was perfect. I mean, that's not the way we roll. Gunnar, we may talk about scripts. We're not quite sure. This is not a pre-rehearsed show. The Streaming Alchemy Show is known for its very precise presentation of whatever it is, and that is the Streaming Idiot Show is the antithesis of the Streaming Alchemy Show. So we've got alchemy, which is what was it, 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, when they try to turn lead into gold. That was all the alchemists, the chemists, the scientists of the day. And John is the one that tells you how to turn lead into gold. All right. Martin Steed is here. Welcome, sir. It was a treat to hang out with Steedy and Jan and Marie and Rudy over at IBC. Boy, that seems like eons ago.
Oh, gosh.
Holy cow. But for those of you that are going to go to NAB in October, John is going to be there, and John is going to be one of the feature speakers at one of our breakfasts. So we'll have to dial that in as we get a little closer, but that's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're planning on coming to NAB, we'll have a kind of a breakfast meetup every morning in the South Hall dining room. And then the Streaming Idiots meetup is going to be Monday night. And we'll get, yes, Marie, you heard your name. That brings her out of the nether regions. Free breakfast? No, you got to buy your own breakfast. We're not buying your breakfast. But it's a chance to hang out with internet celebrities like John. So, that's a good chance, good shot. All right, let's see. So, John, the Friday before last, you did an advanced vMix show on scripts. And I did my best. I did my best to follow that show. But about 10 minutes in, it just... I'm not a coder, so scripts I was starting from scratch on, so that was not a show for a beginner. But the week before that, you did an outstanding show on vMix that was a little bit more beginner oriented. And so if folks are interested in that, definitely encourage y'all to go back and review last week's show if you want to learn about the reflection. And the whole concept of masking, that just just blew my mind, John. I've been working with vMix for years and never understood that section of it. So really, really excited and appreciative. Yep. All right, let's see. We've got NAB. We've got, I know. We'll talk about it in just a minute, but vMix released a new version of 24 this morning, last night. And for those of you that are pondering whether or not you should take the vMix 101 class that we're offering, it's not too late. We did our first lesson yesterday. We're going to repeat that same lesson again tomorrow. So if you're interested in taking the class, you can scan that QR code with your phone, and it'll take you to the page where you can register. But it also gives you the week-by-week class syllabus so that you can have a good understanding of what's coming. So that is going to be fun. We had, I think, 12 or 15 people in the class yesterday, and I know there are a bunch more registered, and they just didn't make the first class. But so, John, do you have a teaching background? Because you are a very good teacher.
No, actually, my background is all in tech. So I've had multiple companies, and it's really around building interesting technologies for areas that haven't really had technology in their space before.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's sort of where we focused. But I think anything you do that is technical has to be able to communicate. That's the technologies that are successful are ones that somehow connect with the people that are using them. And that's the basis of teaching, connecting with somebody where they are at a given point in time.
Well, and if you're bringing, a new technology into an industry, you certainly have to be able to teach it in order to survive it. Holy cow.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun when you talk about different technologies because every industry has things that they built out of what they used to do. And
right.
The opportunities in an industry are around how can you reimagine not what you used to do, but what you can do today and build solutions that let you do that. So it's kind of a different workflow model that you get a chance to look at, which is always cool when you're, playing in that new space.
Yeah. I'm going to add just a little bit of gain to you, John, because we have folks that are having trouble hearing you. And Jan, let me know how that is. All right, we've got a minute and a half left before the show begins, so we want to be careful not to get into the subject matter. When I first started this show, this coming summer, July, will be 9 years that we've been on the air it used to be Tuesdays, but now it's every Wednesday. 9 years. It was 2012 was the very first show in this genre, and it was horrible. It's embarrassing to go back and see some of the old shows. Oh my gosh. But it was, John, I don't have a tech background. I don't have a broadcasting background. I just caught the bug and I said, let's do this. I'm old enough to where I don't care if I get criticism. I'm immune to it. Yeah, Martin's here, so we can start early. Okay, well, Martin, we've got 50 seconds. And so to have done that for all those years, it's fun to go back and look, not at the first shows, but at the other shows and see some of the folks. And I used to sit down with guests and map out very carefully what we were going to talk about, and those were the best conversations right there. And then by the time we got to the show, it's like, well, we're just talking about what we talked about before, and the zing was not there. So we have not rehearsed this, folks. This is entirely as it is. Okay. Well, we're coming up on showtime. Kudos to Martin Kay with Zen Video in Manchester, England, for the opening and closing of the show. And we're going to go to that. And John, I'll have just a brief moment of a couple of announcements, and then I'll bring you in, and you'll be muted until then, so you can say whatever you want.
Sounds good.
So there we go. All right, Martin, you get your wish. We're starting now. So let's see. Can I make sure that I've muted John? Yes. Okay. He's gone. He's gone. All right. Here we go. Hold tight, folks. Well, hello and welcome. I'm Tom Sinclair. This is Streaming Idiots. Yes, you have arrived at the end of the internet. There is nothing else beyond this point. So you may as well hang around for a few minutes. Really excited about our guest today. It's John Mahoney from Gnural Net, who also is the host of the, I think, going to be extremely popular once everybody discovers it, the Streaming Alchemy Show. We're going to get him on here in just a second. But first, if you're a follower of vMix and vMix 24, which was released officially several weeks ago, you'll want to know that vMix has released an incremental update to vMix 24. That's right, vMix 24.0.0.56. We've made a jump from .52 to .56. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means that internally, vMix had several different versions that they were experimenting with different things on, but they were not the kinds of things that were a release candidate. And so they got everything squared away that they thought they needed. The other thing that can happen is they had 53 or 54 ready to go, and then somebody reported a bug, and they said, back to the drawing board, can't release this until we get rid of all the bugs. So they were stomping out bugs right and left. Probably not right and left. No, in vMix, it's pretty bug proof, but there are a couple of bug fixes, little small bug fixes in .56. So you'll want to take a look at that. You can get that at vmix.com. Just download the trial version. You can install it right over your existing version. If you're on version 23, excuse me, let me put these earbuds back in. If you're on 23 and wondering whether it's safe to upgrade to 24, I've been using 24 since it was released as a pre-beta or a preview or whatever they called it, and I haven't had a problem. Now, you're not supposed to use a beta for live production, but I mean, come on, this is the Streaming Idiots show. Of course we're going to use a beta for live production and find out what happened, but we haven't had any problems. But if you're uncertain, you can upgrade to 24 and then backgrade, whatever, you can go backwards to 23. And if you've lost the 23 download on your machine, you can go to the vMix website, the same place you would get the 24, and scroll down that page and you can get the 23. In fact, you can even get 22 and 21 there too. Not that you would want to, but you could. So take a look at 24. Go ahead and update in as soon as you can to 56. I think it's ready to go. The other thing that's kind of hanging loose these days is we have just started a new vMix 101 class. This is our 5th time that we've offered this class. It's been wildly successful, much more successful than I ever imagined. Anyone that buys a new PC from us with vMix on it gets a free seat in the class. And anybody that has taken the class in the past, that is our alumni, they can come back to any future class and take any one or the entire class all over again. The class goes 6 weeks on Tuesday afternoons at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, runs about 2 hours, so it's 12 hours of instruction, but it's live. It's different than watching a video tutorial because you've got the ability to ask questions of the instructor. That's me. Well, maybe that's not always a good thing, but it is what it is. And you've also got other people in the class that are asking questions that, boy, I wish I'd thought of that question. Yeah, that's a great question. Now I know the answer. And all of those presentations, all the lessons are recorded and posted in a private Facebook group that everybody in the class gets access to. So you can go back and review the material. You do have homework. I mean, this is a class now. So if you're interested in the class, you can use your phone and come back to this video later if you want to with your phone and scan that QR code, and that will take you to the page where you can register for the class, but it also gives you the syllabus for the class. That's probably the most important thing that you'll want is the syllabus, so you know what's taught when. And I think you'll enjoy it. Anyway, oops, what did we do there? Let's try that one again. Whoa. I'll have to figure out how I did that. Boy, that was not intended. All right. Coming up in October is going to be NAB in Las Vegas. Lots of cool things are going to be happening. If you're thinking, should I go? Should I not go? Obviously, that's a personal safety choice that you have to make. But once you've made that decision, I'd say go. Absolutely. Flights are going to be inexpensive. Hotel rooms are going to be inexpensive compared to Las Vegas. I don't think you'll find a better time as a budget-conscious person to go to Las Vegas. Plus, there's the Streaming Idiots meetup on Monday night. NAB show starts on Sunday, goes through Wednesday this year. They pushed it forward a day to try to get some weekend folks in there. So we'll have the Streaming Idiots meetup the second night of NAB, which will be Monday. And then every morning at NAB, we'll be meeting in the South Hall, or at least anybody that wants to, in the South Hall dining room for breakfast. And we'll have a series of speakers for breakfast, including our very special guest. So with that, let me bring him in. Let's see if I can find the right button here on my keyboard. I hate when I hit the wrong button. There we go. Welcome, John. John, so glad to have you with us today. This is John Mahoney of Gnural Net. That's his company. That's how he makes business. That's how he makes a living in his business. But he's also the host of the Streaming Alchemy Show. John, welcome. So glad to have you on the show today. Oh, and I've got you muted. Doggone it. I had everything just going perfectly up to that point. My bad.
That's fine. People may be asking you to mute me again in the comments, so we'll just see. But no, it's
highly
great
unlikely.
to be here. I'm looking forward to this.
Good. Well, I'm delighted. Now, for those of you that don't know, the Streaming Alchemy Show is in second season and just released, your fourth episode last Friday?
Actually, last Friday was our 8th episode.
Eighth episode. Oh, my gosh.
This Friday. Yep.
The 9th one is coming up. I apologize. The first 4 must not have been about vMix. No, that's right. You did that great show where you talked about how to set up the back channel, the green room, for the TriCaster and live to air, but that applied to vMix, and I loved it. That was a terrific show. That blew my mind. Folks, John is one of these guys when you're in the room and then John walks in the room and you know that you're no longer the smartest guy in the room. Because John has come into the room, and it's just one of those things, and he is so humble and so gracious. I remember, John, when we first met at NAB, I think it was 2017, and I was so very impressed with you and just the respect that you treated everybody there, even idiots like me. And I thought, either this guy is just dumber than dirt, or he is just a really quality guy. And as it turned out, yeah, you're not dumber than dirt, that's for sure. And then we had that show that we were on together on what was it? The Beat.
It was Broadcast Beat at the NAB conference.
That's right. That's right.
That was with Paul and Scott Whitney.
And Scott, yes, that's right.
Yes.
That was cool. That was good. All right. So
that was a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Lemonade.
No, I said it's going to be good getting back to being live in person once again. There's there's a lot of good times that we've had. So NAB is a great place to reconnect. So
absolutely,
definitely looking forward to that.
Well, and it's one of those things. In other industries, I've done the same thing where you go to the trade show, you go to the shows and the conferences for the content, and then you end up developing relationships with people, and you go back for the relationships. You don't always go back for the content, and that's certainly the way I feel this year. When was your first NAB experience?
Especially after the gap, yeah.
Yes.
Oh gosh, that was probably 2014, I think.
Okay. Okay.
So, I mean, we actually went a few years. Then when we relaunched the product, there's a whole back history to the product. We had to relaunch it. And so we actually had a booth at NAB. I think it was probably 2016.
Okay.
And we that was an experience in and of itself, where you're running your own booth, and
Oh yeah.
as a small company, you're trying to milk everything you can out of having that little bit of floor space they give you. And but that's so much fun to connect with people. And the thing I've always loved is that you run into people that you would never imagine you'd meet, people who are doing all sorts of crazy different things.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the broadcast people that are necessarily going to get your mind moving the same way people who are trying to do odd little niche things where they
Right.
want to, they're trying to create something where they're doing, distributed productions, and they have 6 different people from all over the world, or people who are trying to do translators and use technology so they can have somebody in another country translate for them. Yeah, all sorts of, the edge case broadcast things, but so much fun when you get to talk to these people. The ideas just start to pop. It's like, wow.
Oh yeah. 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 One of my favorites from NAB, I think it was 2018, was the group of about 6 people that came to the vMix booth, and they had a paranormal TV show. And they wanted to explore how they could use vMix to help put together their paranormal TV show. So we had a wonderful conversation. Then there was a group of ex-cons that wanted to come because they thought this would be a great thing to get into, but it seemed a little shady. So you just never know who you're going to meet. That's right. So tell us just briefly, because we could take up hours and hours and hours, and one day I'd love to hear all the backstory. But tell us just a little bit about Gnural Net and what you guys are doing with Live to Air.
Sure. So we started Gnural Net in 2012, and it was based on Skype originally. Skype
Right.
had an API, and they let people do things. They canceled the API in like 2014, and that left us scrambling.
Oh,
But
man, I can't imagine.
we basically were already in the WebRTC space because we were working on an onboarding tool that was all WebRTC based. So we weren't, totally out of the water. We had
Okay.
a plan for how to move forward.
Good.
But the whole premise behind what we were focused on is how could you take and streamline the workflow with bringing in remote guests into a production.
Right.
And the original impetus was we had just sold my last company, and I was looking to get back into the venture capital, small business. What do I want to start next? And so I figured I'd create a show where I could interview people that were other, startup heads and sort of get a lay of the land. And I do it as an interesting show. And so I built it because I went out there and said, there are no good tools to actually do this. And, you'd have to do it all in person. So this is one of those things where we built it as I want this, so I want to do it. And I said, maybe that's my business. It isn't going to be the interview stuff. It'll be building something around remote connections with people.
How about that?
And, everything that we've done really has been focused on workflow. How do you take and make it easier for, and let's face it, everybody who's done onboarding, and this is, no matter what tool you use, there's a lot of challenges to getting somebody into your show, dialed in, the sound right, the video right. getting them prepped in advance, while at the same time trying to go live. So a lot of the design in the product sort of imagine that workflow slightly differently. So as opposed to making the switcher the center point for the remote connections, to
Right.
envision that as make this like an external camera, like any other camera in your set, and then build a framework around that. So what you're doing is you're sending in camera feeds and returning audio and video back, but it makes it a separate discipline and something that can be more easily managed, in a busy production environment. And from there, we just, you're constantly trying to refine and add things that make it work better, make it work more intelligently, and sort of align with where people are today, which there's a lot of remote production out there today.
Oh my gosh. You guys must have just exploded.
Well, it's funny because everything that we've done has really been around trying to help people accomplish something they want to do. So our model we didn't try to go into this as a one size fits all. And that's
Okay.
especially true when you're talking about people's workflow,
Right.
because everybody has, a set of needs and
Right.
different numbers of people that are involved. A school might have 6 or 8 people because they're trying to get all the students involved, but there could be other productions which are just like 1 or 2 people and they're trying to work on their own. So you go into all of these things trying to appreciate what the individual wants. And so it isn't really just a matter of scale to sell a lot of cookie cutter. It's
Right.
much more personal, the way we
Mhm.
viewed it. And it's really trying to build these relationships and understand what people want to do, and then see how can we make the product work better in a broader number of cases. And then
John,
sort of apply
that is an anti-growth formula.
I look at it differently.
It's not a Walmart formula.
It isn't a Walmart formula, but I believe I didn't want to go into this as a quick, immediate thing. I think when you build relationships with people, those relationships can become long-term when you care about what those people want.
Mhm.
And that's what we're looking at. We look at everything we do as an investment in a community. And the more we do to stay connected with that community and to make them feel that we listen to them and respond to them, I think over time you have a successful business. And it isn't just, did I sell, the maximum number of units I could today? Because that's not going to be, that's not going to help you next year or 2 or 3 years from now. It's going to be the people who say, this guy understands me, I trust them, they work with me. And that's how we've approached everything we've done here.
Is that part of the impetus for the creation of the Streaming Alchemy Show, was kind of forming that community?
There were 2 parts to that. Another interesting sort of side story. As we've met with people, we looked at the tools they were using and realized that people are buying expensive tools,
Right.
but then learning 10% of them
Right.
and running forward.
Yes.
And they're losing out on so much more they could do. And so when I looked at the Streaming Alchemy Show, part of that was to build that connection with a community. But the
Right.
other part was to try to help them leverage what they had at their hands right now to say, what more could you be doing with the tools you already have? And we figured as people did more, they'd naturally look to expand their productions, and that would be good long-term for business. But you'd also be sort of a trusted voice for them. So they wouldn't be looking at you as just, I'm hawking a product and sort of figuring how to squeeze it into you. It's more, I'm helping you grow, and as you grow and want to do more things, my products will become more attractive to you over time. So even if it's not this year, next year, you may come back and say, hey, I'd really like to try something different and expand it. That's sort of the general theory behind the show and why we started it.
So was the Streaming Alchemy Show, was that your first show?
That was my first. I had done video before that. I had been involved with video for, as a hobby. and
Right.
with streaming. I mean, back in the days of sort of real networks and all of the the postage stamp size live video you used to get in early internet days.
Yes.
But I love video. I love the art of creating, and I think that sort of goes to whether you're in code or music or video. It's the desire to build things and to create things and to express things. They all sort of roll together in that space. But that it was the first live show that we did, and that I'll be honest, that took a lot. And I've been speaking, I've in past incarnations of my career, I've spoken at, large conferences and other things. So it's not like I get stage fright, but it's very, very different when you're just in front of a camera talking and you have no feedback, especially in the beginning. I mean, it's like nobody's out there.
Right. That's right.
I am just talking to the crickets here. And so you always have that sort of sitting there, but it's the sort of thing that I think for everybody, like you said, Tom, in the pre-show, your first efforts are never going to be your best. And
Right.
but you just you take it and you learn and, you sort of grow from there. And I think, everybody, if you have something that's worth saying, there's an audience that will want to listen to it. And it's giving it a chance to connect with that audience and to, so don't get discouraged early because you don't have, a lot of subscribers or a lot of
Right.
people coming in live. It's not that type of game. It's a long game. You play it because you believe in the subject you're talking about, and you believe there's an audience for it that really could get some benefit once you connect. And then word of mouth works a lot for you.
Well, and John, it's also fun. I mean, when you think about this,
Absolutely.
it's just a blast to put
Yeah.
all the pieces together, and it even works. And all of a sudden,
So-
people are giving you feedback, and they're saying, "Yeah, I like this," or "I didn't like this," or "You need to do this," and before you know it, there's a whole group of people that have a vested interest in what you're doing because they realize, hey, this is something that I can get something from, something that will feed me in a way. And that's what I've loved about your show is it's like your show was designed for me. Well, 90% of it. There's that 10% that I just don't understand. So I guess it's not designed for me, but that's okay. So tell me, what have you got coming up
I
this
think-
Friday?
yeah.
Can you
So
can you share a secret?
absolutely, it isn't all together yet. That's like everything. It's
Right.
It's
Work in progress.
It's one of the 1,000 things on the to-do list until it goes live. But we are going to be doing a combination of scripting, data, and using that to drive websites. So
Oh my.
so
Oh my.
so this is going to be
Oh.
we've been working to try to figure out the best way to present some of this stuff, but it's really a combination of trying to get people to think now of, if you have data and the web's available to everybody, how can you use the data with a little bit of scripting to drive websites to do different things for you that could enhance productions.
Wow.
And that's really sort of lay the foundational pieces and let people develop
Wow.
from there.
Wow. I love it. I love it. Can't wait. All right. So last Friday,
So-
we alluded to this earlier. Last Friday, you talked about masking and you used vMix as an example, and you can see the reflection stuff down here, which is what you did. And I was able to pull this off in 30 minutes, although it's not perfect. It's close enough for the Streaming Idiots show. How did you figure all that out? Where did that come from? Was that something you already knew, or did you just sit down and said, I wonder if I can make vMix do a reflection? Where did this come from?
Well, it actually came from building virtual sets. The way you do reflections in a virtual set are exactly like that. You'll take, virtual sets use something called a UV gradient.
Right.
And so what you would do with the gradient is you would flip and invert it and then do the fade, so you'd get a reflection, because the gradient is what you use to map video in a virtual set. And so you would do it the opposite way. So this would work equally well with gradients in vMix virtual sets. I mean, so it's the same basic tool, but the thought was, if you could do that in a virtual set and we have gradients, you could sort of cross over and do it with just using gradients here. So it wasn't like I just had, the epiphany on the mountain kind of thing. It was just, I looked at one side and, and said, gee, you could apply this in other places too.
Oh, that's great. Folks, if you haven't seen that show, number one, you need to go back and see it immediately. Don't leave this show yet, but after this show's done, you need to go watch that show, because John talks about not just the reflection, but he talks about using the same kind of, what'd you call it, mapping or masking. And he had something in there with different puzzle pieces that he was putting the puzzle pieces together, and they were interlocking, but each puzzle piece was a different video source. And so these video sources were kind of intermingling with each other, which was just, just amazing. And then I loved your map. That's where the map with the hospitals. Yes, that was great. So all of that is just stuff that just bubbled up out of your brain.
Everything we do, we try to think of what are use cases that people could have. And so we just sort of imagine a use case and then say, how could we use the tools to do something different with that isn't what people are seeing out there all the time. And it's so much fun. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. You sort of go into these things and you're like, you get captivated by solving the problem. Okay, if you ever saw the movie Apollo 13, where they sort of walk into the room and dump the stuff on the desk and say,
yes,
here's what you got, here's the problem you got to solve, do it.
Right.
It's that sort of challenge. You look and go, I have all these tools, but it's this set. So if I had this set of tools, how do I build something that does that? And it's just that fun feeling you get of creating something out of, constraints. You don't have $1 million to build all these different great widgets. You have to work with what you have. And so how do you get the most out of that?
And that forces you to learn your tools better. Yeah, I get it. Okay.
It's easy to jump in, and this is something you sort of learn over time from when you work as a startup. It's very easy to throw away an idea when it gets hard. And the real success comes from learning something enough to understand the problems that are involved with it, and then get working through those problems with what you have available to come up with solutions, as opposed to abandoning it and say, well, I'll try the next tool, the next widget, the next.
Right.
And it's very tempting sometimes to be like, I couldn't do it here, so I'm just, this is flashy and sparkly, so I'll grab this and try this. And you just find you end up running into different limitations a little further down the road, because you never really solved the issues you were trying to solve in the beginning.
I get it. I do. Folks, if you're just joining us, this is John Mahoney from Gnural Net, who's also the host of the Streaming Alchemy Show, and definitely the smartest person in the room today. We're delighted for that. John is going to be one of our speakers at our breakfast meetings at NAB in October. Delighted to have John doing that. And if you've got questions, we'd love to have you put them in the chat for the post show. John, you've got a bunch of fans in the chat, but John Simon has said he's been watching you since the very beginning, and that he's blown away by the way you apply gradients, that you're taking vMix in places that he never thought it would go. So we hope you will continue to do that. Yes.
So,
all right, folks.
I love the community.
We got to wrap this up so we can go to post show. So if you've got a question, go ahead and ask it again. If you've already asked it, do us a favor and just ask it one more time. Put a Q in front of it so that we know it's a question. and we'll be back in just a moment for the post show. Now, unlike other shows on the internet, you can watch this show on replay on YouTube or Facebook for that matter. And you get to watch the pre-show as well as the post-show. We're not like those other shows that only show you the show and don't give you all the other, because the good stuff happens in the pre-show and the post-show. Everybody knows that. That's where the great part is, because everybody's relaxed. And, anyway, John, thanks so much. Please hang around. We'll be right back with the post-show after this great closing from Martin Kay. And we're out. All right. We can relax now. Oh, golly gee whiz, that was so hard. Jeez. So, John, are you originally from New Jersey?
No, I'm originally from New York, born and raised in Jamaica, New York.
Okay.
So, lived in London for 3 years.
Interesting.
As a part of another business, and I moved back from London into New Jersey, and I've lived here since. So.
You went to New Jersey on purpose. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, I went to New Jersey on purpose. Well, it was work related, but yeah. So,
I'm teasing. Everybody likes to pick on New Jersey. It's just sort of a sitting duck out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
The armpit of the nation. We heard all these different jabs, so totally got it. That's okay.
Rudy says in the chat that you need to write a book about scripting. What do you think of that?
I would love to. It's writing a book is much more of a undertaking than I probably have the time to commit to right now, but I definitely would love to. I'd love to find a way to share more about it. And the trick is that it is a combination of sort of creative skills, but also programming skills. And so finding a way to communicate both those things is really the trick to making any sort of training around scripting work. And that's kind of the limitation. I knew with the second scripting show we did that was going to be sort of out in the fields and sort of not necessarily resonate with a lot of people. And so I wanted to do it to at least get there with it, to cover it. But I also recognize that that's not going to be something that you want to build a community around necessarily, because you'd exclude a lot of people. And there's a lot of people that are really looking to sort of learn more about the product than just the programming geeky sides of it. So, but yeah, I mean, I'd love to find a way to communicate more. It's the engineer in anybody, where you look at, I mean, engineers, regardless of the discipline, take complex problems, break them into lots of simple problems they know they can solve. And when they figure out how to do that, you reassemble them back to solve the original complex problem. And, that's kind of what scripting lets you do. vMix has primitive things it lets you do, as, primitive, not like, fundamentals, like very low level in vMix. These are the things you can do. And so you just have to think of, how can I stitch these primitives together in a way that solves these cool complex problems up here that I'd love to figure out a way to solve. So it's a great topic for me. I connect with it, and that's just the geek in me that's definitely doing that. So,
well, it comes across well, and I think I love the fact that you're pitching multiple levels. You've got something for beginners, you've got something for intermediates, you've got something for folks that are advanced, and I think the way I look at that is it's kind of like you're giving away free ice cream, okay? And there's vanilla. Everybody likes vanilla, and then there's pistachio with walnuts. that is only going to appeal to a certain crowd, but there is a crowd that it will appeal to. And they will be very passionate about that because it's not like anything else. And I remember in the business that I had before this one, I thought of my marketing that same way. I'm going to market to 3 different levels, and there were 3 that I chose. And as it turned out, over a 20-year span, one of those was always successful. They weren't all successful at the same time, but something, even in the recessions that I went through, there was always something that was successful and kept us through, and it was totally accidental on my part, but it worked. And I see you kind of pitching that same thing.
There's a lot of different dimensions to production. There are a lot of sort of foundational technical things, like how do lenses and cameras and lighting. Those things are
Right.
sort of the basic mastery of the tools. But there's a lot of creative things that you have to think about in using those tools. And then there's such a range of tools. And you have things like vMix, but even though we use vMix, we use TriCaster, we switch the Streaming Alchemy Show on TriCaster,
Right.
but all the signage we have, for the monitors we have in the studio, that's all driven by OBS. So you have lots of these tools that you can start to combine, and really NDI has been the glue for all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Once NDI came out, then you could stop looking at what can I do in this silo. The silo suddenly had bridges. And it's like, oh, now this is great. So now I do what I can do really well in OBS, and then I can feed that into whatever other tool I want, and whatever I can do in vMix, feed that in whatever other tool I want. So you never limit it to just sort of looking through a single prism to see everything. You can sort of look broadly and say, what tool do I have, is the best tool for this specific thing. And a good example is like signage over here. We have a portrait monitor as opposed to a landscape monitor. You can't do that in a lot of production tools, but OBS actually lets you just take and create an odd shaped monitor. So you can have a 1080 by 1920 monitor, and that works. But now you can feed that in as NDI into other things and use that as one piece of the full puzzle here.
And is that what's behind you now with the words and the the control surface on it?
Yep. So we have that over there. Let me see. I can switch over. You can sort of see I have the camera over here, which is the other monitor. This is the portrait monitor. We didn't really use that because I didn't have the lighting set up for it in this case. But so that was sort of our the two monitors we have here that we use for digital signage, and we drive those with OBS.
Interesting. I have never ever used OBS. Isn't that horrible? Never ever seen it.
Yeah,
if somebody put it in front of me right now, I wouldn't know what it was.
It's
crazy.
Like I said, it's just another tool, and it's free. So yeah, but free means you have to invest your own time and resources into getting it to do what you want. And so nothing is truly free. And I think, to the point where you're having those training classes, I think that's a perfect example of, you invest in a lot of things, but you tend to, for a lot of people we deal with, they give short shrift to the training side. It's like you've just incredibly increased the value of what you just purchased, if you really learn how to use it. And that's something that for anybody that is coming at this that isn't really sure of what they want to do, I think working with the dealer is a really positive thing. Any premium that people are worried about is more than compensated by just having somebody there to answer these questions that you're going to have and to help you use the tool better, because time is an expensive commodity. And you're going to spend it in money or time to get there. And
and some people have got the time. and
and
they're
that's
quite willing to invest their time because they just don't have the resources otherwise. And I get that. All right, so we got some comments here that are interesting. Let's see. Jan said Tom didn't mute himself today. Thank you, Jan. Appreciate you mentioning that. And Jan said, a book or maybe just a forum targeting scripting. And John picked up on that and said, I agree, it would be great to have a script group because the documentation is scarce. And then Gunnar, who is automation for vMix, said we could use a group or a forum for scripting in vMix. I'm not sure if there's a forum on the vMix forum on scripting, but if there isn't, there could be.
I mean, there are resources out there, but it's I agree.
You have to look for them.
They are a little scarce.
Yeah,
you do have to look for them, and they also, it's not just scripting uses VB.net, so the Visual Basic.net, and so you also have to sort of combine that. That's beyond the scope of something you'd see in like a vMix forum, because it's a whole Microsoft technology area. And a lot of it, the other big piece to scripting is that not everything that works in Visual Basic works. So you've got to learn to say, well, these tools in VB work, but these ones don't, and there's no particular rhyme or reason. You'll be there and like, okay, I'm doing this right, and it's not working. It's like, oh, guess it's not supported, and you just like go on to the next one. So it is a complex thing, but I think it would be really cool, if that's something that there was sufficient interest in. I'd be definitely open to, getting together and starting a vMix scripting group on like Facebook. And
I think Jan's already beat you to the punch. He says there'll be a group up in a minute. Now, Jan and his wife Marie are the ones that started the Streaming Idiots group on Facebook way back when, and because they were big fans of the show. And they said, our goal is to have, after 6 months, maybe we can have 50 people in the group. Well, after 6 months, we had 1,500 people in the group. Now it's almost 5,000. It's just been incredible with the way it's grown. Now, obviously, not everybody participates and not everybody is still interested. But I think a group that was pointed at kind of a narrow focus of scripting, a la VB scripting or vMix type scripting, would be hugely successful, John, and would suck all your available time. I mean,
that's a very small pond to suck from.
Yes.
So, but I think it's definitely something that if so. I'm sorry, I missed who is it that said they would do this? If they would, who said?
Jan said we can
Jan,
have a Facebook group for scripting in 1 minute. So I'm expecting a link to that sucker here any second.
Well, tell Jan to reach out to me, and I definitely definitely be interested in chipping in what I could to that. But
Good.
It's kind of fun when once you build a community, you realize that you stop being the center, and it becomes much more like an orchestra.
Yes.
Everybody's feeding off of everybody else, and there's so much value that's being created by the community that you can then sort of call out things that are not getting attention in the community, and you can sort of stifle the things that are disruptive.
Yes.
But you recognize that your role changes from being, I have to be the focus of everything, and I have to initiate everything, to now you sort of step back and go, I'm just now more the parent. I sort of sit there and keep everybody that gets out of line in line. But by and large, I let everybody grow, the way they want to grow, and that's great. It's same with companies. As you build a company, you realize at a certain point, it's just because I've surrounded myself by a lot of great people that the company can grow, and you back off a bit. And so they're going to grow, and I just nudge it where it needs to be.
Well, that
I mean,
doesn't
I love
happen by
your
accident.
No, it does not.
It takes a little nudge here and a push there, and knowing when to nudge and when to push is part of the wisdom of it all. That's good.
And you learn from the arrows in your back, sort of thing. It's not the it's not.
You got arrows in your back, John. I'm amazed. I'm amazed.
If you don't, you ain't trying. That's all.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So,
all right. Jan says, apparently, John, we are already connected on Facebook. So you guys are friends or relatives or something on Facebook. That's good. Jan is another one of those guys. When he walks into the room, I'm no longer the smartest guy in the room. In fact, when Marie, his wife, walks into the room, I'm no longer the smartest person in the room. They're brilliant, a brilliant couple. She is an HVAC engineer. Just wow. Yeah, wow. Wow. Well, John, I could sit here and talk with you all day, but I can't, because I've got things that are calling on my time, and I know you've got things calling on your time. You have been so very gracious to carve out the time for this today, and I really appreciate it. And folks, if you have interest in a Facebook group on scripting that John would participate in at some level, the level that he feels comfortable in, what do you do? Well, you could post your interest in the on the Streaming Alchemy Show page on Facebook. You could post your interest in the Streaming Idiots group in Facebook, and we'll find a way to collect you and get you all together. And as we have a group, which Jan Lin may have momentarily, on Facebook to join, we'll make sure that everybody knows about that, and see where we go from there. Some of these things take off and they fizzle, and every now and then you get one that just takes off like a rocket and becomes wildly successful because people in the group invest themselves in it. And that's what I think we're talking about. So, John, thank you so much. And Streaming Alchemy Show is Friday at 3 o'clock Eastern. Is that right?
At 2.
2 o'clock Eastern.
Fridays at 2.
Goodness,
yep.
We would have missed it. And go back and watch Martin Steedy. Go back and watch some of the other shows. You will enjoy those. And Martin makes a comment. He says, "I've never seen the chat so quiet during a show. Everyone was listening for sure." Well, listening or sleeping.
This was a lot of fun.
We'll have to see. Yeah.
I have that effect on people too, so I will definitely own that one too. But I appreciate everybody making the time to tune in. This has been so much fun for me, and Tom, thank you so much for having me on. This has been a lot of fun.
My pleasure. I hope a lot of folks discover your show as a result, and I know they will. I know the show's going to be hugely successful. I think it's just been. I would say it's been under the radar, but some of the shows you've gotten thousands and thousands of views on some of the shows from last season.
Yeah, I mean, we're on YouTube and Facebook, so you can find us on either one of those.
Good, great. All right, thanks, John. Thank you, folks. We will see you next week. Not sure what next week's show is. Oh, we were talking about having Joe DeMax on. We'll see if we can get Joe on, because he's got some things up his sleeve that'll be kind of fun and interesting. John, if you've got just another second, we'll let this show go.
Sure.
Thank